The unexpected discovery. A human explorer finds an alien baby abandoned on a distant planet. The impossible choice. Alien authorities demand the baby be surrendered, but the human refuses. On the run. The human goes into hiding with the baby, evading alien pursuers. Unlikely allies. A small group of sympathetic aliens join forces with the human. The truth revealed. The team uncovers a sinister plot behind the baby's abandonment. Humanity triumphs. Through ingenuity and determination, the human and allies save the baby and expose the conspiracy. I'll begin writing Part 1, The Unexpected Discovery. Let me know when you're ready for me to continue with the subsequent parts. Part 1, The Unexpected Discovery. The harsh winds of Kepler 186f howled across the barren landscape as Commander Elena Reyes trudged through the rusty soil. Her exosuit sensors blinked warnings about the planet's toxic atmosphere, but Elena paid them no mind. After 6 months on this desolate rock, she had grown accustomed to the constant reminders of her precarious existence. Elena was the last remaining member of the ill-fated Horizon expedition. What had begun as humanity's boldest step into the cosmos had quickly devolved into a nightmare of equipment failures, freak storms, and dwindling supplies. Now, as she scanned the horizon for any sign of the rescue shuttle that was already 3 weeks overdue, Elena couldn't help but wonder if she had been forgotten, left to die on this alien world, 500 light-years from home. As she crested a low ridge, something caught her eye. A glint of metal, out of place among the reddish rocks and sparse vegetation. Elena's heart raced as she quickened her pace. Could it be debris from the shuttle? A sign that help was finally on its way. But as she drew closer, her excitement turned to confusion. It wasn't wreckage she was looking at, but some kind of pod, sleek and egg-shaped, its surface adorned with intricate, swirling patterns that seemed to shift and dance in the dying light of Kepler 186's distant sun. Elena approached cautiously, her hand instinctively moving to the sidearm at her hip. In all her months of exploration, she had never encountered anything like this. It was clearly of artificial origin, but far beyond any human technology she had ever seen. As she circled the pod, a seam appeared in its smooth surface. With a soft hiss, a panel slid open, revealing the pod's interior. Elena gasped, her eyes widening in disbelief at what she saw inside. Nestled within a cocoon of shimmering, translucent material was a baby. But not a human baby. Its skin was a pale lavender, its oversized head adorned with delicate, feather-like tendrils. Its eyes, when they fluttered open to meet Elena's gaze, were deep pools of swirling silver. For a long moment, Elena stood frozen, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. An alien child, abandoned on this desolate world. How was this possible? And more importantly, what was she supposed to do now? As if in answer to her unspoken questions, the baby let out a soft coo, its tiny arms reaching out toward her. In that instant, all of Elena's doubts and fears melted away. Without hesitation, she reached into the pod and gently lifted the child into her arms. "It's okay, little one," she murmured, cradling the alien infant against her chest. "I've got you now. You're safe." As Elena turned to head back to her base camp, the pod behind her began to shimmer and dissolve, leaving no trace of its existence. She didn't notice, her attention entirely focused on the precious bundle in her arms. In that moment, she knew that her life, and perhaps the fate of 2 civilizations, had changed forever. Over the next few days, Elena threw herself into caring for the alien child. She jury-rigged an incubator from spare parts, analyzed the baby's biology with her limited medical equipment, and did her best to concoct a nutrient solution that would meet its needs. It was exhausting, challenging work, but Elena found herself energized by a sense of purpose she hadn't felt since the early days of the expedition. She named the baby Nova, after the brilliant stellar explosions that had always captivated her imagination. And as the days passed, Elena found herself growing more and more attached to the little alien. Nova was a quick learner, already beginning to mimic Elena's facial expressions and vocalizations. Its silver eyes seemed to sparkle with intelligence and curiosity, and Elena often caught herself wondering what marvels the child's species must have achieved. But even as she marveled at Nova's development, a gnawing worry ate at the back of Elena's mind. Where had Nova come from? Why had it been abandoned here? And what would happen when, if, her own people finally arrived to rescue her? Elena got her answer sooner than she expected. 10 days after finding Nova, her comm unit crackled to life with a message she had almost given up hope of hearing. Horizon Base, this is Rescue Shuttle Artemis. Do you copy? Commander Reyes, if you're receiving this, please respond. Elena's heart leaped with joy and relief, even as a new worry settled in her gut. She glanced at Nova, peacefully sleeping in the makeshift incubator, and took a deep breath before responding. Artemis, this is Commander Reyes. I copy you loud and clear. It's damn good to hear your voice. Likewise, Commander, came the reply, thick with emotion. We thought we'd lost you. Prepare for extraction in approximately 6 hours. And Commander, we're picking up some unusual readings from your location. Care to fill us in? Elena hesitated, her eyes once again drawn to Nova's sleeping form. In that moment, she made a decision that would alter the course of human history. Negative, Artemis, she said firmly. Everything's fine here. Just get me home. As she began to pack up her essential gear and research data, Elena's mind raced. She knew she was taking an enormous risk, but she couldn't bear the thought of abandoning Nova or handing the child over to be dissected and studied like some lab specimen. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them. Nova deserved a chance at life, and Elena was determined to give it to them. As the hours ticked by and the Artemis drew ever closer, Elena cradled Nova in her arms, marveling at the twist of fate that had brought them together. I don't know what's going to happen next, little one, she whispered, but I promise you this. I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. We're in this together now, come what may. Nova cooed softly in response, its tiny hand reaching up to touch Elena's face, and as the first hints of the Artemis engines echoed across the barren landscape of Kepler 186f, Elena steeled herself for the challenges that lay ahead. Whatever the cost, she would protect this child, not just for Nova's sake, but for the sake of all humanity. For in this tiny alien lay the potential to bridge the gap between worlds and usher in a new era of interstellar understanding. Little did Elena know that her decision would set in motion a chain of events that would test the very limits of human ingenuity, compassion, and determination. The adventure was only just beginning, and the fate of 2 species now rested in her hands. The impossible choice. The shuttle Artemis hummed with barely contained excitement as it docked with the orbital station Olympus. After months of believing Commander Elena Reyes lost, the crew was eager to welcome her back to humanity's most advanced outpost in deep space. But for Elena, the joy of rescue was overshadowed by a gnawing anxiety. As the airlock cycled open, Elena clutched the bundle containing Nova closer to her chest. She had managed to keep the alien child hidden during the journey, but she knew that deception couldn't last much longer. Taking a deep breath, she stepped onto the station. "Welcome back, Commander." A chorus of voices greeted her. Elena's eyes darted around the crowded reception area, taking in the beaming faces of her colleagues and superiors. Her gaze settled on the stern visage of Admiral Yuri Petrov, the station's commanding officer. "It's good to have you back, Reyes," Petrov said, his thick Russian accent tinged with genuine warmth. "We thought we'd lost you out there." Elena nodded, forcing a smile. "Thank you, sir. It's good to be." Her words were cut short as Nova, startled by the noise and commotion, let out a high-pitched wail. The crowded room fell silent, all eyes turning to the squirming bundle in Elena's arms. Admiral Petrov's eyes narrowed. "Commander Reyes, what exactly have you brought onto my station?" Elena's heart raced, but she stood her ground. Slowly, carefully, she unwrapped the blanket, revealing Nova to the stunned onlookers. gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as they took in the alien child's lavender skin and silver eyes. "This is Nova," Elena said, her voice steady despite her fear. "I found them abandoned on Kepler 186f. They needed help, and I couldn't leave them behind." The next few hours passed in a blur of medical examinations, debriefings, and increasingly heated arguments. Elena found herself standing before a hastily assembled panel of military and scientific leaders, all clamoring for answers she didn't have. "Do you have any idea of the diplomatic nightmare you've created?" spat Dr. Amelia Vasquez, the station's chief xenobiologist. "If Nova's people come looking for them, they could see this as kidnapping, an act of war." "And what if they don't come looking?" Elena countered. "Was I supposed to leave an innocent child to die on that godforsaken rock?" Admiral Petrov raised a hand, silencing the bickering. "The fact remains, Commander, that you brought an unknown alien life form onto this station without authorization. The potential risks to our personnel, our mission." He was interrupted by the sudden blaring of alarms. Red emergency lights bathed the room as a voice came over the intercom. "Unidentified vessel approaching. All personnel to battle stations." The conference room erupted into chaos as officers rushed to their posts. Elena's blood ran cold. Had Nova's people come for them already? As if in answer to her unspoken question, a massive holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed a sleek, otherworldly ship, easily dwarfing the Olympus station. Its surface rippled with the same swirling patterns Elena had seen on Nova's pod. A burst of static filled the air, followed by a voice that seemed to bypass their ears and speak directly into their minds. "Humans of Earth, we are the axiom. You have something that belongs to us. Return the child immediately or face annihilation." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Elena and the alien child in her arms. Nova, sensing the tension, began to whimper softly. Admiral Petrov's face was ashen as he turned to Elena. "Commander Reyes, I'm ordering you to hand over the alien child. We cannot risk." "No," Elena's voice was quiet but firm. She looked down at Nova, meeting those swirling silver eyes, and in that moment she knew she could never give them up. "I won't do it." "This isn't a request, Commander," Petrov growled. "This is a direct order. The fate of humanity could be at stake." Elena's mind raced. She knew she was about to throw away her career, possibly her freedom, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this situation than met the eye. Why would such an advanced species abandon a child, only to come back guns blazing to reclaim it? "Sir," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, "I respectfully refuse that order. Something isn't right here. Nova was left in my care, and I intend to honor that responsibility until we know the full truth." The room erupted into shouts and arguments. In the chaos, Elena felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Dr. Vasquez, the xenobiologist who had been so critical earlier. "I think you're making a mistake," Vasquez whispered, "but I also think you might be right that there's more going on here. If you're going to do this, you'll need help." Before Elena could respond, Admiral Petrov's voice boomed over the commotion. "Security. Detain Commander Reyes and take the alien into custody." Time seemed to slow as Elena watched the station's security forces advance toward her. In that moment, she made a decision that would alter the course of her life and potentially the fate of 2 civilizations. With Nova clutched tightly to her chest, Elena bolted for the door. She heard shouts and the pounding of feet behind her, but adrenaline and desperation lent speed to her steps. She raced through the station's corridors, her mind working furiously to formulate a plan. "This way." Dr. Vasquez appeared suddenly, gesturing toward a maintenance shaft. "I can get you to the shuttle bay." Elena hesitated for a split second, then nodded. She had no choice but to trust the xenobiologist. As alarms blared and the station shook from what she could only assume was weapons fire from the Axon ship, Elena followed Vasquez through a maze of service tunnels and restricted areas. Finally, They emerged in the cavernous shuttle bay. Vasquez quickly input a series of codes, overriding the lockdown protocols on one of the smaller research vessels. "Take this," she said, pressing a data chip into Elena's hand. "It's everything I have on xenobiology. It might help you care for Nova. And Elena, be careful. Whatever's going on here, it's bigger than any of us realized." Elena nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "Thank you, Amelia. I won't forget this." As she boarded the shuttle with Nova, Elena heard Admiral Petrov's voice over the station-wide comm. "Attention all personnel. Commander Elena Reyes is to be considered AWOL and in possession of a highly valuable alien asset. All efforts must be made to apprehend her and recover the alien child. This is now our top priority." Elena's hands flew over the shuttle's controls, her years of training taking over. As the bay doors began to close, she gunned the engines, shooting out into open space. The Axiom ship loomed before her, its weapons trained on the Olympus station. For a moment, Elena froze, overwhelmed by the enormity of what she had just done. She was now a fugitive, hunted by both her own people and a vastly superior alien force, all for the sake of a child she'd barely understood. Nova cooed softly, its tiny hand reaching up to touch her face. Elena felt a surge of determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them. For Nova's sake, and for the sake of the truth she was now convinced lay hidden behind this impossible situation. As Elena plotted a course away from the standoff between the Olympus and the Axiom ship, she allowed herself a grim smile. She had always wanted to explore the unknown reaches of space. Now it seemed she would get that chance, with the most precious and dangerous cargo imaginable. The small research vessel disappeared into the star-studded blackness, carrying with it the hopes, fears, and unanswered questions of two civilizations. The real journey was only just beginning. On the run, the stolen research vessel, which Elena had christened the Nomad, drifted silently through the void of deep space. It had been 3 weeks since their dramatic escape from the Olympus station, and Elena was starting to feel the strain of constant vigilance and uncertainty. She glanced over at Nova, who was contentedly playing with a makeshift toy fashioned from spare parts. The alien child had grown noticeably in the short time they'd been on the run, its lavender skin now taking on a deeper, almost iridescent quality. Elena marveled at Nova's resilience and adaptability, qualities she was quickly learning to emulate. A sudden beeping from the ship's console snapped Elena back to attention. She had programmed the Nomad to alert her of any nearby vessels or habitable planets. Her heart raced as she scanned the readout. A ship was approaching and fast. "Looks like our luck's run out, little one," Elena muttered, strapping Nova into a safety harness. "Hold on tight." She pushed the Nomad's engines to their limit, weaving through an asteroid field in a desperate attempt to lose their pursuer. But the other ship was faster, more maneuverable. Within minutes, it had closed the gap. Elena's fingers hovered over the weapons controls. She had no desire to fight, but she would do whatever it took to protect Nova. Just as she was about to open fire, a familiar voice crackled over the comm system. "Stand down, Commander Reyes. We're not here to hurt you or the child." Elena's eyes widened in surprise. "Dr. Vasquez, how did you find us?" "No time to explain," the xenobiologist replied urgently. "We need to dock now. You're in more danger than you realize." Against her better judgment, Elena complied. As the airlock cycled open, she held Nova close, ready to fight or flee at a moment's notice. But it was indeed Dr. Amelia Vasquez who stepped aboard, along with a tall, willowy alien with skin the color of burnished copper. "Elena, this is Zara," Vasquez said, gesturing to her companion. "She's an Axiom defector, and she has quite a story to tell us." Over the next few hours, as their ships drifted in tandem through space, Zara revealed a truth more staggering than Elena could have imagined. The Axiom, it turned out, were not a single species, but a collective of advanced civilizations. They had been observing humanity for centuries, debating whether Earth was ready for first contact. Nova is not just a child, Zara explained, her multifaceted eyes fixed on the alien infant. They are a nexus, a being of immense potential, capable of bridging the gap between species. The Axiom Council feared that if humanity got hold of a nexus, it would upset the balance of power in the galaxy. So they abandoned Nova on Kepler 186f. Elena asked, her voice tight with anger. Zara nodded sullenly. It was meant to be a temporary measure until the council could reach a decision, but then you found them, and everything changed. The Axiom are divided now, Vasquez added. Some want to recover Nova at any cost. Others, like Zara, believe this might be the push humanity needs to take its place among the galactic community. Elena's mind reeled with the implications. She looked down at Nova, who was watching the proceedings with those mesmerizing silver eyes. "What does this mean for us?" she asked softly. "It means we keep running," Zara said firmly. "We need to buy time for the pro-human faction in the Axiom Council to gain support, and we need to prove that humanity is ready for the responsibility of raising a nexus." Vasquez placed a hand on Elena's shoulder. "I've been analyzing the data we have on Nova. Their growth and cognitive development are off the charts. I think they might be telepathic, Elena. They could be the key to unlocking interspecies communication." As if on cue, Nova let out a soft coo. Suddenly, Elena felt a gentle presence in her mind, a swirl of colors, emotions, and half-formed thoughts. She gasped, looking at Vasquez and Zara in wonder. "Did you feel that too?" They nodded, their faces mirroring her awe. "We need to find a safe place," Elena said, her resolve strengthening. "Somewhere we can protect Nova and study their abilities without interference from either the Axiom or Earth forces." Zara's eyes lit up. "I might know just the place. There's a hidden outpost on the outer rim of the Andromeda Galaxy. It's a haven for species seeking refuge from the Axiom's influence." "The Andromeda Galaxy," Vasquez exclaimed. "But that's over 2.5 million light-years away. We don't have the technology to." "You don't," Zara interrupted with a smile. "But I do." Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly to integrate Zara's advanced propulsion technology with the Nomad's systems. It was a crash course in xenoengineering for Elena and Vasquez, but the potential rewards were too great to pass up. As they made their final preparations, Elena found a quiet moment with Nova. The alien child had grown even more in just these few days, its features becoming more defined, more expressive. "I don't know what the future holds for us, little one," Elena murmured, cradling Nova close. "But I promise you this. I'll never stop fighting for you, for your right to choose your own path. Whatever you're meant to become, whatever role you're meant to play in the universe, it'll be on your terms. Not the Axiom's, not Earth's, yours." Nova's silver eyes met hers, and Elena felt another surge of that gentle mental presence. This time she could almost make out words: safe, love, together. Blinking back tears, Elena rejoined the others in the cockpit. "Are we ready?" Zara nodded, her copper skin gleaming in the starlight. "Course laid in for the Andromeda Galaxy. If this works, we'll be making the longest jump in human history." "And if it doesn't work?" Vasquez asked nervously. Elena took a deep breath, settling into the pilot's seat with Nova secure in her lap. "Then we'll have given everything trying to forge a better future, for all of us." With a shared look of determination, they activated the experimental drive. The stars outside the viewscreen began to stretch and blur. Elena felt a momentary sensation of weightlessness, of being everywhere and nowhere at once. And then, in a burst of light and energy, the Nomad vanished from known space, carrying with it the hopes and fears of two galaxies and the infinite potential of a child born to bridge worlds. As they hurtled through the cosmos, Elena allowed herself a small smile. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but for the first time since finding Nova, she felt a glimmer of real hope. Whatever challenges awaited them in Andromeda, they would face them together, human axiom, and nexus united in a common cause. The adventure was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. Unlikely allies. The Nomad emerged from its unprecedented jump with a flash of light and a bone-jarring shudder. Alarms blared as Elena frantically scanned the ship's systems, her heart pounding in her chest. "Status report," she barked, clutching Nova protectively. Dr. Vasquez's fingers flew over the control panel. Main power at 30% and falling. Life support stable, but we've got multiple hull breaches, with venting atmosphere. Zara, the Axion defector, was already moving. "I can seal the breaches with emergency force fields, but we need to land. Now." Elena nodded grimly, studying the unfamiliar star patterns outside the view screen. Any habitable planets nearby? There. Vasquez pointed to a blue-green orb on the long-range scanner. "Atmosphere looks breathable, but I'm picking up some strange energy readings." "It'll have to do," Elena decided. "Hang on, everyone. This is going to be rough." The Nomad streaked through the alien planet's atmosphere, trailing fire and debris. Elena's expert piloting and Zara's last-minute adjustments to the ship's structural integrity fields were all that kept them from burning up on entry. They hit the ground hard, skidding across a vast purple plain before coming to rest at the edge of a shimmering forest. Trees with iridescent leaves swayed in a breeze that seemed to carry whispers of alien songs. As the dust settled, Elena did a quick head count. Everyone was battered and bruised, but alive. Nova, remarkably, seemed entirely unfazed by the ordeal, its silver eyes wide with curiosity at their new surroundings. "Where are we?" Vasquez asked, wincing as she unbuckled her harness. Zara shook her head, her copper skin reflecting the strange, shifting light of this alien world. "Not where we were aiming for, that's for certain. We're in Andromeda, but this isn't the sanctuary outpost." Elena's hand instinctively went to her sidearm as she peered out at the alien landscape. "Well, we can't stay here. The Nomad's in no shape for spaceflight. We need to find help, or at least supplies." As if in response to her words, a distant rumbling filled the air. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble. "Please tell me that's just this planet's version of a welcome wagon," Vasquez muttered. But Elena's instincts told her otherwise. Everyone back in the ship, now. They had barely made it inside when the first of the massive, insectoid creatures burst from the ground. Each one was easily the size of a small house, with multiple segmented limbs and glowing, compound eyes. "Hive minds," Zara breathed, a note of awe in her voice. "I thought they were just a legend." The creatures surrounded the Nomad, their mandibles clicking in what could have been curiosity or hunger. Elena raised her weapon, ready to defend her unlikely family to last. But before anyone could make a move, Nova let out a soft coo. The alien child's eyes began to glow with an otherworldly light, and suddenly, Elena felt that now familiar presence in her mind. But this time, it was stronger, more focused. Images and emotions flooded her consciousness, curiosity, concern, an offer of help. With a start, Elena realized that Nova was somehow communicating with the hive-mind creatures. "Lower your weapons," she said softly. I think they want to help us." Slowly, cautiously, they emerged from the battered Nomad. The insectoid creatures parted, forming a path that led towards the shimmering forest. At the front of the group stood a being unlike any Elena had ever seen, part insect, part humanoid, with an aura of ancient wisdom about it. "Welcome, travelers," the being said, its voice a melodious blend of clicks and whispers that somehow translated directly into their minds. "We are the Synox, guardians of this realm. Your coming was foretold in the Song of Stars." Elena exchanged bewildered glances with her companions. "Foretold? I'm sorry, but we came here by accident. Our ship is damaged, and we're on the run from, well, it's complicated." The Synox leader tilted its head, multifaceted eyes glinting with what might have been amusement. There are no accidents in the grand tapestry of the cosmos. Elena Reyes of Earth, you and your companions were meant to find us, just as we were meant to aid you in your quest. Our quest? Vasquez asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial fear. To nurture the Nexus child, the Synox replied, gesturing to Nova. To forge a new path of understanding between species. To challenge the old order of the Axiom and usher in a new age of galactic cooperation. Zara stepped forward, her eyes wide with recognition. You know the Axiom. But how? They've never ventured this far into Andromeda. The Synox's mandibles clicked in what might have been a chuckle. We know many things, young Axiom. Our hive mind spans galaxies, connecting us to the very fabric of spacetime itself. We have watched and waited for eons, knowing that one day a child of two worlds would come to us, bearing the promise of a new future. Elena looked down at Nova, who was reaching out towards the Synox with obvious fascination. So you'll help us. Protect Nova from those who would use them for their own purposes. We will do more than that, the Synox leader replied. We will teach you, train you, help you unlock the full potential of the Nexus child. But be warned, the path ahead is fraught with danger. The Axiom Council will not give up their prize so easily, and there are other forces at work in the universe that would seek to control such power. As if to underscore the Synox's words, a distant boom echoed across the purple plain. Elena's heart sank as she recognized the sound of ships entering the atmosphere. It seems your pursuers are more resourceful than we anticipated, the Synox observed. Come, we must retreat to the safety of our high city. There we can begin your training and prepare for the battles to come. As they followed the Synox towards the shimmering forest, Elena felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were billions of light years from home, about to be plunged into an ancient conflict they barely understood. And yet, for the first time since this wild adventure began, she felt like they truly had a chance. Nova burbled happily in her arms, its silver eyes reflecting the alien sky above. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, human, Axiom, and Nexus, united with their new insectoid allies against the forces that would tear them apart. As they disappeared into the strange, luminescent forest, Elena allowed herself a grim smile. The real war for the future of two galaxies was about to begin, and she intended to win it, no matter the cost. The truth revealed. The Synox High City was a marvel of organic architecture, a sprawling metropolis of crystalline spires and pulsating bioluminescent pathways. For weeks, Elena and her companions had been living and training within its ever-shifting corridors, each day bringing new wonders and challenges. Nova had grown at an astonishing rate, both physically and mentally. The alien child now appeared to be the equivalent of a human toddler, its silver eyes constantly alight with curiosity and an intelligence that sometimes left Elena breathless. Focus, Elena, Zara's voice cut through her reverie. You must clear your mind if you hope to establish a true telepathic link. Elena took a deep breath, trying to ignore the sweat beading on her brow. She and Zara sat cross-legged in a meditation chamber, its walls pulsing with soft, soothing light. Between them, Nova watched with rapt attention. I'm trying, Elena grumbled. It's just, there's so much at stake. How can I clear my mind when I know the Axiom could find us at any moment? Zara's multifaceted eyes softened with understanding. That is precisely why you must learn to focus. The mental disciplines of the Synox are our greatest weapon against the Axiom. If we can establish a strong psychic link between us, Nova, and our allies, we'll have an advantage they can't match. Elena nodded, closing her eyes once more. She reached out with her mind, feeling for that elusive connection. For a moment, there was nothing but the quiet hum of the high city around them. Then suddenly she felt it, a spark of something vast and ancient, a consciousness that spanned galaxies. Images and emotions flooded her mind, the birth of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations, the intricate dance of quantum particles. Elena gasped, overwhelmed by the sheer scope of what she was experiencing. "That's it," Zara whispered encouragingly. "You've made contact with the Synox hive mind. Now, try to focus on Nova. Find the thread that connects you to the child." Elena concentrated, sifting through the cosmic tapestry until she felt a familiar presence, warm, curious, and bursting with potential. Nova's mind touched hers, and suddenly, everything snapped into focus. She opened her eyes to find Nova beaming at her, silver eyes aglow with shared understanding. For the first time, Elena truly grasped the magnitude of what the child represented, a bridge not just between species, but between entire realms of thought and existence. Their moment of connection was shattered by a piercing alarm. The walls of the meditation chamber flashed red, and a Synox voice echoed through their minds. "Intruders detected. All defenders to battle stations." Elena scooped up Nova and raced from the room, Zara close behind. They met Dr. Vasquez in the corridor, her face pale with worry. "It's the Axiom," Vasquez reported grimly. "A whole fleet of them. They found us." They rushed to the High City's central command center, where the Synox leader awaited them. The massive chamber was a flurry of activity, with insectoid warriors preparing for battle and holographic displays showing the approaching Axiom Armada. "How did they find us?" Elena demanded, her heart pounding. The Synox leader's mandibles clicked sullenly. "I'm afraid the answer lies closer to home than we realized." It turned its multifaceted gaze to Zara. "You have betrayed us, young Axiom." Zara's copper skin paled. "What? No, I would never." "We have detected transmissions from within our hive," the Synox continued. "Encrypted messages sent directly to the Axiom fleet. You led them right to us." Elena felt as if the floor had dropped out from beneath her. She stared at Zara, the alien she had come to trust, to care for. "Is this true?" Zara's eyes filled with anguish. "Elena, please, you have to understand. I never meant for it to come to this. I was trying to broker peace, to convince the Council that humanity was ready for contact. But they wouldn't listen. They're coming to take Nova by force." "You risked everything, all of us, on a gamble." Elena's voice shook with rage and betrayal. Before Zara could respond, the High City shuddered under the first wave of Axiom attacks. Explosions rocked the crystalline spires, and the air filled with the screeches of wounded Synox. "We cannot hold them off indefinitely," the Synox leader declared. "Elena Reyes, you must take the Nexus child and flee. There is an escape pod prepared. It will take you to a place even the Axiom cannot follow." Elena hesitated, torn between the need to protect Nova and her desire to stand and fight alongside her allies. "I can't just leave you all to die." Dr. Vasquez placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll hold them off as long as we can. Buy you time to get away. Nova is too important to fall into the wrong hands." With a heavy heart, Elena nodded. She turned to Zara, her eyes hard. "You're coming with us. If we survive this, you've got a lot of explaining to do." As they raced towards the escape pod, dodging falling debris and battling Axiom shock troops, Elena's mind whirled. Everything she thought she knew had been turned upside down. Who could she trust now? They reached the launch bay just as another explosion rocked the High City. Elena strapped Nova into the pod, then turned to face Zara and Vasquez. "Whatever happens," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "thank you. For everything." Vasquez smiled sadly. "Go, save the child, save the future." As the pod's door began to close, Zara caught Elena's gaze. "Elena, I'm sorry. I truly am. But there's more to this than you know. The truth about Nova, about the Axiom, it's bigger than any of us realized." Before Elena could respond, the pod sealed shut and launched, hurtling away from the besieged High City and into the unknown depths of space. As the Synox world shrank behind them, Nova placed a tiny hand on the view screen. A wave of emotion washed over Elena, sorrow, determination, and a sense of destiny yet unfulfilled. "I know, little one," Elena murmured, pulling the child close. "This isn't over, not by a long shot." The pod accelerated, its advanced Synox technology carrying them faster than Elena thought possible. Stars blurred into streaks of light, and she felt a familiar sensation of weightlessness as they prepared to jump to somewhere. As the universe seemed to bend around them, Elena's last thought before unconsciousness took her was a silent promise to Nova, to her friends left behind, and to herself. She would uncover the truth, no matter the cost, and when she did, the action would learn what it truly meant to face the determination of humanity. The pod vanished in a flash of light, carrying with it the hopes of 2 galaxies and the seeds of a revolution that would shake the very foundations of the cosmos. Humanity triumphs. Elena awoke to the gentle hum of unfamiliar machinery and the soft cooing of Nova. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she realized they were no longer in the Synox escape pod. Instead, they found themselves in a vast, circular chamber unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, shifting and pulsing with intricate patterns of light that somehow felt both ancient and impossibly advanced. In the center of the room stood a towering pillar of swirling energy, its colors constantly changing and flowing. "Welcome, Elena Reyes and Nova, Nexus of Worlds," a voice echoed through the chamber, seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We are the architects, and we have been waiting for you." Elena instinctively pulled Nova closer, her eyes searching for the source of the voice. "Who are you? Where are we?" A figure began to coalesce from the swirling energy of the central pillar. It was humanoid in shape, but its form constantly shifted, as if it were made of living light. "We exist outside of time and space as you understand it," the being explained. "We are the caretakers of the cosmic balance, the guardians of potentiality. And you, Elena Reyes, along with the Nexus child, are the key to preserving that balance." Nova squirmed in Elena's arms, reaching out towards the luminous being with obvious fascination. As their hands nearly touched, a surge of energy pulsed through the room, and suddenly, Elena's mind was flooded with visions. She saw the true history of the Axiom, not a single alien race, but a collective of civilizations bound together by a terrible secret. Eons ago, they had discovered the existence of the architects and the cosmic balance they maintained. In their arrogance, they sought to harness that power for themselves, to become the masters of reality. But their actions had consequences. The fabric of space-time began to unravel, threatening to plunge the entire universe into chaos. The architects intervened, binding the Axiom to a cosmic pact. They would become the guardians of lesser races, shepherding them towards enlightenment, but never again attempting to seize control of the fundamental forces of creation. "The Nexus children are our failsafe," the architect explained as the visions faded. "Born of 2 worlds, with the potential to bridge the gap between mortal understanding and cosmic truth. We seed them throughout the universe, waiting for the day when they will be needed to restore balance." Elena's mind reeled with the implications. So Nova, all of this, it was planned. The architect's form shimmered. Not planned, but prepared for. The universe is vast and full of possibilities. We set the stage, but it is the choices of individuals, like you, Elena, that determine the outcome. As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the chamber. The architect's form flickered, its voice urgent. "The Axiom have followed you here. They seek to break their ancient pact, to seize control of Nova, and through the child, access the power of creation itself." Elena's heart raced. After everything they had been through, it all came down to this moment. What can we do? How do we stop them? The architect gestured towards the central pillar of energy. Nova must merge with the cosmic conduit. Only then can the full potential of the Nexus be realized. But be warned, this process is dangerous. It will require an anchor, a mind strong enough to withstand the torrent of cosmic awareness. Elena didn't hesitate. "I'll do it. Whatever it takes to protect Nova and stop the Axiom." The chamber shuddered as the first waves of axiom weapons fire impacted whatever shielding protected this place. Elena knew they were out of time. She knelt before Nova, looking into those swirling silver eyes that held the secrets of the universe. "Are you ready, little one? One last adventure together." Nova's tiny hand touched her cheek, and Elena felt a surge of love, trust, and determination flow between them. Together, they approached the pillar of energy. As Elena lifted Nova towards the swirling vortex, she felt a presence behind her. She turned to see Zara, battered and bloodied, but alive. "Elena, wait," the axiom defector cried out. "You don't know what you're doing." But it was too late. Nova's form began to merge with the energy pillar, and Elena felt her consciousness expanding, encompassing the vastness of the cosmos. She saw the intricate web of causality that bound all things together, the delicate balance that kept reality from collapsing in on itself. And she saw the axiom for what they truly were, not malevolent conquerors, but frightened children playing with forces beyond their comprehension. In that moment of cosmic awareness, Elena made a choice. Rather than using Nova's power to destroy the axiom, she reached out with her mind, touching the consciousness of every being in the invading fleet. She showed them what she had seen, the truth of their history, the consequences of their actions, and the beauty of a universe where all beings worked in harmony. The axiom weapons fell silent, one by one, their ships powered down. As Nova's form re-solidified and the rush of cosmic awareness faded, Elena found herself face to face with the axiom leadership. But now, instead of conquerors, she saw them for what they were, lost souls in need of guidance. "You could have destroyed us," the axiom supreme counselor said, his voice filled with awe and humility. "Instead, you showed us the truth. Why?" Elena smiled, cradling Nova in her arms. "Because that's what humans do. We face the unknown not with fear, but with curiosity and compassion. We see the potential for growth and understanding, even in our enemies." The architect's form shimmered with approval. "You have done well, Elena Reyes. The balance is restored, and a new era of cooperation between species can begin." As the gravity of what had transpired settled over them all, Elena felt a tugging on her sleeve. She looked down to see Nova, now appearing as a young child, smiling up at her. "Home?" Nova asked, speaking aloud for the first time. Elena's heart swelled with love and pride. She looked around at the assembled beings, human, axiom, and cosmic entity alike, and realized that home was no longer a place, but a purpose. "Yes, little one," she said, her voice filled with determination and hope. "Let's go home. We have a universe to explore and a future to build. Together." As they prepared to leave the architect's realm, Elena knew that the greatest adventure of all was just beginning. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, it had triumphed, showing the cosmos that sometimes the greatest power lies not in advanced technology or cosmic awareness, but in the simple human capacities for love, forgiveness, and the relentless pursuit of understanding. The stars awaited, and Elena Reyes, with Nova by her side, and a coalition of once bitter enemies, now turned allies, was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For in the end, it was not the Nexus child alone who had bridged worlds, it was the indomitable spirit of humanity that had truly changed the course of cosmic history.